What's happening, everyone? This is again live on the Russell Hantz Show and TRHS Sports. If you're not into sports, you're probably not going to enjoy this type of thing, and that's okay. If you are into sports, come join TRHS Sports. This is the next one we do will be the last time I air this on my YouTube channel, the Russell Hantz Show. So we're going to talk today is part 3, like we promised. We're going to talk wide receivers today, and one of my main wide receivers went down on my list because they idiots traded them out of Houston. So we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But we'll go ahead and start with the top wide receiver, and I'll go ahead and tell you my top wide receiver. And a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy. Loco, because I believe no, I just changed it in my head just now. It just changed in my just now, just like that. That just happened.
Firing on a whim, guys.
Yeah, no, I have it written down, but I'm changing it to probably someone that everybody's going to choose, and that's Michael Thomas, number one. But I was thinking, in my head, Tyreek Hill, Thompson, but only because this all went in my head just now. Just a bunch of information, and I was like, well, Breeze, he does have a weaker arm, but Thomas, he runs great routes, and he doesn't run down the field anyway. So I can see where you'd be like, but I like to hear your opinion, Cameron, on that, because you think that Drew Brees is going to be the worst quarterback in the NFL.
That's not what I said. That's not even close to what I said. But when I'm looking at wide receivers, what I want volume, and volume. I want true number ones. I want guys that don't have a lot of competition for the other targets, right? And that doesn't just mean anybody. That means I want the premier wide receivers who have no number two. Thomas is not actually my number one this year. He's my number two. I actually put DeAndre Hopkins as my number one.
Oh, well.
My reasoning is
what you just said.
Yeah, well, that he's a premier receiver. They do have a number two. They have Larry Fitzgerald. He's a bit older. He usually starts the season fast. He doesn't really finish the season strong because he's older. They got Christian Kirk. He's a slot guy. He could play any position. But they pass the ball so much. They're going to pass the ball 65, 70% of the time. That's just what they want to do. They're going to have the receiver sets out there. Yeah, we'll get to him. He's not the number one. We'll
no. What about you, Josh?
Go ahead, Cam. Are you still finishing? Yeah.
No, I was just saying they're going to be in the most pass-happy offense probably in the NFL. And he's a number one receiver. He's a top-tier athlete. And he's going to have tons of volume, and that's what I'm looking for.
It's not really that much different for me. I have Hopkins 2. I still have Thomas 1. Michael Thomas had 185 targets last year. It's insane, and I don't see it dropping this year. The only thing that's going to drop is if they don't play. So I still think he's going to get massive amounts of targets, even though Breeze's arm is not what it quite used to be. But there's a reason Mike Thomas's Twitter handle is "You can't guard me," because no one can. And you put 3 guys on him, you can't cover him. But
they brought in Sanders. So as far as the target share and soaping it all up, last year who'd they have as their number 2? Traquan Smith?
Yeah, and I agree with you too. I still think Hopkins is clear number 2 to me. Like I have them 1 and 2, and to me it's no doubt. I think Hopkins, this is me crazy saying, sorry Russell to say this. Hopkins might be even going to a better situation offensively than and Houston was a great one for him. With the emergence of Kyler Murray, and it's nothing on Deshaun Watson. It's just I think Kingsbury's offensive mind is better than Bill O'Brien's and his staff. Like I like Hopkins. I think Fitzgerald might actually even go down to the 3rd target. I think Kirk's probably going to get a little more, and then Fitzgerald's just going to be like that savvy veteran. But I think hands down, those are the top 2 guys personally.
That's a crazy thing to say about Larry Fitzgerald.
Agreeing with that.
It is, and I love Larry Fitzgerald, man. He's one of the all times.
I have Hopkins as number 4 on my list. Because I think that we said it a little bit about, we talked baseball last night, and you heard Josh, we were talking about Cole. And I can see him not having, of course he's going to have an okay season, but I can see him dropping off because he's in New York. Now, yes, they're going to be passing a lot, but things change when your quarterback doesn't have as good an arm as this guy. I don't think so, and I think that it's just not going to be the same. We've seen it happen before when great receivers go somewhere and then all of a sudden they have an not the best season ever. Like that's what you guys are basically saying. He's going to have one of the best seasons ever because he's going to be 1 or 2. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's going to happen.
So, do you want to do a live bet right now? We can mark this down that Kyler Murray has a better season than Deshaun Watson.
I think that Tyreek Hill will have a better season than Deshaun Watson, and we can write that down.
You mean the DeAndre? No, I'm talking about the quarterbacks, Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson.
Oh, we can write that. Well, I don't know about that.
As you know from when we did the quarterbacks, I'm all in on the Cardinals offense. I think actually Hopkins can put up his best year of his career.
Yeah, but
fantasy.
We can go ahead and write that down that Tyreek Hill is going to have a better season than
DeAndre.
Hopkins.
I mean, I don't think that's preposterous, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, so I
personally,
think
I don't think it's preposterous.
My number 2 is Tyreek Hill. My number 4, is Hopkins. I'll go ahead and say my number 2 right now. I mean, my number 3, and that's Adams.
Hold on.
Don't
hate Hold on 1 second.
Don't hate on me.
Just yesterday,
I might.
You were telling me about that poll on our page, our Twitter page, that Tyreek Hill is the 4th choice when you need a catch to score to win a game.
He is.
So you're going to tell me he's your number 2 overall receiver.
I'm talking the whole game, points. You're talking about to win a game? Yes, to win a game, your poll was, go ahead and tell the audience what your poll actually was.
You need 1 catch to win the Super Bowl. Who do you pick?
Right. I'm not going to pick Tyreek Hill over someone with that clutch hands like Hopkins for 1 catch in 1 game. But if you're talking a whole entire game where this guy runs 100 miles an hour, yeah, I got Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, you're trying to get the best of both worlds here.
Who do you pick last year? Do you choose Tyreek Hill or Hopkins to be in your team for the whole season? Yes,
I pick Hopkins every time over and over again over Tyreek Hill.
If I could see
the
numbers, I'd probably pick Tyreek. But if I'm just looking at the receivers and quarterback doesn't matter, I'm going to take Hopkins every time.
Hopkins put up numbers with like Matt Schaub and Brandon Whedon.
Yeah, we'll put a side bet, but it has to have a hashtag by it saying without beating up your girlfriend or something like that. Because if he beats up his girlfriend, then that's a totally different story. He disqualifies himself.
Yeah.
So, or breaks his kid's arm or something like that. I don't know. Was it him that did that?
Yeah, he got him.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt a little bit too.
There was a guy in my fantasy league one year that didn't know any of that news about the players, and there were probably 4 or 5 players that got in trouble for that in the preseason but didn't get suspended. Somehow or another, he actually drafted all 4 or 5 of those guys. And I was just like, the odds of this is just insane. But he drafted them all. But
see, are you upset with my 3rd pick? This is it.
I have Adams down. I see Adams actually one of my. Well, Adams is still wide receiver 1, no doubt to me. I actually have him down a little bit, and that's more of the Green Bay offense of how they're transitioning to more like a running game, short passing game. Adams is still going to put up numbers, no doubt, but I actually have him down about 8th.
We have a crybaby in the house. We have a crybaby in the house. Attention, everyone. We have a crybaby in the house. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that stinks. Oh well, I'll get over it. But I mean, I have both Buccaneers receivers ahead of them. Like I think even Brady, Winston, whoever, Godwin, Evans, both studs. I mean, we didn't even talk about Julio Jones yet, who I still have 3 on my list, and then I have like Allen Robinson, Devontae Adams, even. I mean, Allen Robinson's still one of the most slept-on receivers in the NFL, fantasy and real life. He just puts up numbers with terrible quarterbacks. You know what I mean? So even with Foles or Trubisky, he played with Blake Bortles. You know what I mean? And now he played with Trubisky, and now and it's Foles or I love Foles, but that's differently. That's not for fantasy. But you know what I mean. So I mean, Adams definitely a wide receiver one you feel good with. He's more like second round towards mid to end for me personally. I have about 7 guys ahead of him, 6, 7 guys.
I've got Adams at 3 for the same reason that I described in the very beginning. There's not really a lot of competition over there for catching passes. There's a couple receivers. They've got Martez Vanda-Scantling. He's a stud. He could run a 4.3 40. He's fast. He's long. I just wish he could catch the ball sometimes. He burned me last year a few times. They've got Alan Lazard, who's a spark athlete. He's pretty good. But Aaron Rodgers is one of those – there's a few quarterbacks in the league that if you're a wide receiver one on that team, they're just going to breed statistics. What is that? No, go
ahead. It's just somebody.
Oh, yeah. It's 2 separate things.
Yeah, we lose one, we get one.
So, but anyway, so there's certain, like, if you're Ryan Fitzpatrick, his wide receiver ones, he feeds them the ball. He just absolutely feeds his wide receiver ones. Rodgers is another one. He's going to do a lot of dump passes. He's going to do a lot of dink and dunk. But Adams is the guy. So if he needs to go to somebody, if they need a first down, that's where the ball's going to go almost every time. Yeah,
and I'm like I said, I'm not negative Adams. I'm just like, I mean, for me, like 3, 4 through 8 or 9, like I'm all good with. Like if I don't take – I'm probably only taking Thomas or Hopkins in the first round just because then I'm going running backs, even though I think you can argue a couple of the other receivers could still go first round in the standard 12-team league. But like I said, I don't – maybe I'm a little hurt because Devontae Adams hurt me a little bit last year, and that's because he was hurt and he had less than 1,000 yards, but he did miss like 5 games. And I agree. I mean, if he didn't check out our quarterback episode, he definitely should check out because we definitely talked about Aaron Rodgers and how he's not necessarily the Aaron Rodgers of old when it comes to top 3, 4 fantasy quarterback play. But I mean, Adams is still a bona fide number 1 fantasy receiver. So
I wonder. That's why my wife left me because he's a crybaby.
He hit the nail on the coffin there, man.
Oh man, some people's kids. Thanks for the entertainment.
So you already did your 4, right, Russell?
Yes. So did y'all both get your 4 in?
I haven't.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got Julio at my 4.
Okay.
9-3.
I could definitely Julio's a stud. Like who's absolute stud. I can see him have a little bit of a not a huge drop off in production, but maybe a little bit. The only reason is because I think Calvin Ridley is going to take a step forward. Mm-hmm. So I love Calvin Ridley. He's in one of my tiers here, not this one, but he's going to be in one of my tiers.
We're thinking along the same lines there again already, like we did some of the other ones with Ridley.
Yeah, so I still think he's a stud number 1 if he's there and it's in the first or second round. You take him. But the days where he's going to get 14, 15 targets, get you 1,600 yards, I don't think those are going to be as consistent in the coming years because they've got such a young wide receiver in Calvin Ridley who's a route runner. He can catch the ball. He's a stud. He's competitive. I think he's going to take some of his targets away, but I'd still take Julio at my 4 as a receiver.
Yeah, and Julio is great. Like I said, I have him 3. He's as talented. The only thing that's down with him, it's amazingly they don't get him the ball in the red zone. Like I feel like he easily should have 12, 13 touchdowns a year, and every year it's single digits. Like remember the one year he had like 3 touchdowns, even though he had like 1,500 yards the other year. It's insane.
Week 15.
It's insane.
Yeah, I remember because I kept rostering him on FanDuel. And I was waiting on the day that he exploded. And then finally I said, you know what? I've lost so much money on Julio this year. I'm taking this week off. What's this man do? He only gets 180 and 2 touchdowns. Yeah. It's nothing big, right?
That's how it works.
Well, I think that Matt Ryan's going to have the worst year possible. I think that he's getting old, and I think it's about to really, really show. He didn't impress me last year at all. Red zone targets. Got the best wide receiver in football, one of the best, and you're going to tell me he's not going to get red zone targets like he should? It's Julio Jones. What are you doing? Just throwing up to him? If he loses a step, that's it. He's in trouble. I don't have him in my top 10.
Julio?
You have Julio in your top 10? No.
Yeah. That's my big one right there.
But I don't need to be making bets with you, Russell, because I'll be cleaning you out.
Mm-hmm. It's bold. It's definitely bold. Mm-hmm. Don't agree, but it's bold.
I just think he's a great receiver. At 11, he's a great receiver. They have really good receivers this year. New ones that just came up. We're talking about newer names that we don't really talk about in the future of fantasy, like Sutton. You have Goodwin. That's young wide receivers. It's solid. I mean, yeah, I put him at number 11.
Yeah, my young guys are going to be on tier 3 and 4, but we'll get to the young guys that I like over here. So
I do like Cortland Sutton.
Do you have Goodwin at a third tier?
Godwin.
I'm sorry,
no,
Godwin.
I had Godwin 5th overall. I love Chris Godwin.
Receiver or 5th overall?
Sorry, 5th receiver.
Oh,
not
okay.
Like 5th. No, not 5th receiver that we're talking about right now. Like I said,
I'll start off my second tier.
Yeah.
I've got Tyreek Hill, my second tier.
Yes.
The reason being is like
second tier.
Second tier.
Have him in so you would not draft him.
It's like your fifth receiver, pretty much. Though, right?
Yeah, my wide receiver 5. The reason being is, now keep in mind, this whole video is season long. This isn't daily fantasy, right? We'll get into the daily fantasy later on in the year, or next month or so. But for season long, like I said, I want consistency. I want every week to get a certain amount of targets. I want yards. I want touchdowns. Tyreek Hill is a stud, and he'll get you a 70-yard touchdown catch. But he does that probably once every 3 weeks, right? He gets so many highlights, we think he does it every week. He does it once every 3 or 4 weeks, and he'll pepper you for a couple catches. But he's not, for me, a top tier with the Thomas, the Hopkins, the Adams, and the Julios. He's just a step behind them as far as a wide receiver 1 production in a season long. Now, you give me daily fantasy, and you give me the same price on all of these, I'll probably hammer Tyreek Hill because he can go off any game for 2 touchdowns and 160 yards.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think you're making good points with Tyreek Hill. Even like I said, I have him 4th, but I mean, I could easily see, like I said, my next couple, like I literally have Godwin and Evans together, pretty much, like just 2 stud receivers on the same team. It's almost like with Peyton Manning, with like the Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison. They just put up numbers. Like they're both going to put up 80 to 90 catches, over 1,200 yards, and almost literally like double-digit touchdowns each. Like I said, we talked about it earlier. They have no running backs. Like I still think Keyshawn Vaughn's gonna be the one that plays the most out of their backfield. Like,
well, a report came out that said Bruce Arians and the OC, they absolutely want Ronald Jones to be the first and second down back, and then they want Dare. I can't even say his last name, but they want Dare to be the pass catching back, and then they'd spell him with Vaughn every now and then.
Yeah, I'm not getting any running backs for Tampa unless it's like a late. You know what I mean? Like just taking anyone.
Do you think that, with talking about Tampa, do you think that Mike Evans is going to suffer because of their new quarterback?
Mm-mm.
No, I think it's going to be.
Well, which one of you said that he can't throw down the field?
He doesn't have to. That's probably. Okay. I mean, he doesn't throw as deep anymore either. But.
Don't they need that for Mike Evans?
No, Mike Evans is like, was he 6'7"?
Big. He's like 6'5", 6'6". He and Godwin's 6'2". Like they're both big dudes.
Yeah, Mike Evans, dink and dunk down the field with Brady if you want. That's what I think is going to happen. Mike Evans is a red zone monster, and you know how much Brady likes those red zone monsters.
Yeah. Well, he says he's old.
He's not that old. He's not even 30 years old yet.
30 years old.
Making me feel old, man.
He's been dominating for like 6 years now. 7 years. People think he's old, but he's been dominating since his first year in the league.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's.
I mean, he came in with Johnny Manziel. That was like 6 years ago.
I think that's going to be another situation where you have a quarterback that he's going to be throwing to his tight ends. He's going to be throwing to slot receivers. He's not going to throw it down the field. Evans going to run down the field, and he's not going to be able to hit.
They'll move Godwin in the slot too. That's why I think Godwin will probably have more PPO. But they're both going to put up top 7, 8 fantasy numbers. They're both safe bets.
You don't want both. You want.
You're not on your same team, but I think you're good having either though. I would take Godwin.
So you're going to take Godwin over.
I would personally take Godwin over Evans, but I'd be happy with either.
That's tough for me. If you're talking to me, if there's no quarterback, if we're just taking an absolute receiver, I'm probably taking Godwin because I think he can move around the field more. He can play the different positions a lot better. But the way that Tom Brady plays at 43 and 44 years old is he wants the big bodies, and he's always like the red zone target. So if you're looking at Tom Brady and a receiver, Mike Evans is the guy. He's big, he's long.
Yeah, if he's on the 20-yard line, then yes,
right.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm talking about getting down the field to actually winning.
And I mean, like I said, I don't think Tom Brady has the arm like he used to, but we also don't know because they haven't had anything in New England the last couple of years down the field. You know, I mean, they're relying on guys like N'Keal Harry. I mean, they traded for Sanu. He's not like a deep threat. He's more slot. You know, Edelman's just like a dink and dunk guy. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard. Like, yes, he's 43, 44. He definitely doesn't have the arm, but who knows? Because their Patriots didn't have a deep threat for a couple years. Like, I mean,
you agree with this here?
Yeah,
close. Like, I mean, so like if you're saying like I could see definitely over 1,200, so yeah, I would say yes, pretty much.
Yeah,
and I think
so. And so we've already talked about tier 2. We've talked about I have Evans and Godwin in my second tier. They're interchangeable to me. If somebody takes Evans before you, you've got Godwin. If somebody takes Godwin before you, got Evans. Like, to me, it doesn't really matter if I can get one or the other. So that's 3. My fourth guy to round out my tier 2, I'm probably going to get a lot of this as a homer pick. I've got Amari Cooper. The reason I've got Amari Cooper, he's the best route runner in football. There's nobody in football that runs a better route than Amari Cooper.
Thomas?
No. The route as a route runner.
Come on.
Amari Cooper's the best.
Michael Thomas is not fast.
Michael Thomas is a better overall receiver. I'm going to give you that. But
he gets open because he runs routes so well.
No, I'm not saying he doesn't, but I'm saying if you take the 2 receivers and you make them run different routes, Amari Cooper's going to run a better route. Amari Cooper turns people out of their shoes. That's not the only reason I'm putting him in tier 2, though. I'm putting him in tier 2 because Dallas now has Michael Gallup on the outside. They've got CeeDee Lamb, who they just drafted, who can bust the top off of defense. How are you going to double a man who can run routes like Amari Cooper can and can run after the catch? It's going to be almost impossible.
I like Amari Cooper too. Like I said, from the end of my tier 2 and bleeding into my tier 3. Of like we're saying, even though they're all wide receiver 1s, so even though we're saying tier 2, tier 3, these are all still wide receiver 1s. But like for me, it's like I have like Allen Robinson, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, all about the same. Like I said, I'm a little lower on Adams, but not like down on him. Like I like Amari Cooper a lot, even though like I said I hate the Cowboys. But I mean, Amari Cooper is a beast. That offense is going to be a juggernaut. They were the number 1 offense in the NFL last year. People realize, the whole NFL, they're number 1 offense. You know what I mean? Yeah. They couldn't take down Carson Wentz, man, but it's okay. Like in Philly, but just being a hater. But like I said, I'm still big on Allen Robinson. I saw someone say like, "Oh, he hasn't done anything since his 1,500-yard year." Last year, he had like 1,200 yards and like 9 touchdowns with Mitch Trubisky.
Right,
like, so it's pretty.
Have the quietest.
Yes, just
you can ever imagine.
So I mean, he's one of the safest guys. He's another guy that just has great hands, great route running. Allen Robinson, another big dude at like 6'3". Also, a lot of Penn State love still too, him and Godwin. So that's my homer picks a little bit there. But I think Allen Robinson's very solid.
My number 1 tier 2 guy, I like Deebo Samuels. I think that he's going to have a great year this year. Somewhat like, do y'all think that saying Cortland Sutton would be a bottom of the number 2 type guy?
I actually think Sutton's more bottom wide receiver 1. He's my 12th wide receiver 1. Okay. So I think Sutton's going to take the next. Like you said, remember I talked really big about Drew Lock. I think me and Cam both were talking positively about Drew Lock and their offense. As like 12th overall as like the receiver. I have Sutton, yes. Okay, like I have him right below 2 guys like Kenny Golladay and Odell Beckham round out like my top 12, like first 3 tiers.
Oh man, Odell.
Odell's like one of those.
So talented.
He's the ultimate like boomer bust guy in a way.
Like good. The crazy thing is, we could be easily saying number 1 Odell Beckham. Like if last year didn't happen, and it's just he's talented enough to be a number 1 receiver.
Yeah, he's been one. Like in the gym. It's just, and he played 16 games last year. He wasn't even injured. That's just how bad. He only had 4 touchdowns. He's
very interesting because. How far is he going to go on the draft? Like, is he going to go to 3? Is he going to go to 4?
I think non-keeper like nor PPR. I think he'll fall possibly to like the early 3rd round, mid 3rd round.
If I get in the mid to late 3rd round, I'm excited.
Oh, man.
I took him last year in the 3rd round in a 12-team league, and he was like a wide receiver 3.
You got to think Baker last year too. He held the ball too long, but he was running for his life on a lot of those passes. Yeah. They had no offensive line block.
Probably the worst head coach maybe in the history of the NFL. Oh, like, no offense to Freddie Kitchens, that was embarrassing. Even for the Browns, that was embarrassing.
Right. So and they've got a new offensive coordinator as well. The thing about our new head coach, the thing about Odell as well. If you look at Stefanski, who's the new Cleveland head coach, when he was in Minnesota. he wanted to run the ball first and then set up the pass, right? He had Dalvin Cook, who's not a workhorse back, not even close to a workhorse back, that's body-wise, and he made him a workhorse back. He gave the guy 20 to 22 carries a game, gave him passing game work, and it opened up the passing. Kirk Cousins started shredding folks. I think that could easily happen here where Odell, I have him in my third tier. It could be a situation where they've got Chubb and they've got Hunt, and they're hammering folks running the football all day long. And then guess what? You're bringing somebody in, and Odell pops off once every 2 weeks. He pops off for a long touchdown. That could make your season right there. If he gets that 3 or 4 times a year, that could make your season. Yeah. It could win you. It could win you matchup.
And I think we both have him like the same spot here, like our tier 3 of wide receiver ones. And I think that's the right spot for him. But he does have such upside to be, like Russell was saying, even higher. But again, they have so many players. We'll talk about Jarvis Landry in a little bit too. Mm-hmm. They brought in Austin Hooper. They have so many offensive weapons. Like the Browns, on talent-wise, is insane.
That's crazy that we're actually saying that Odell Beckham is tier 3, when he could easily at the end of the season he could be like the number 1 guy.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because he hasn't done it in like 3 years between injury and just the Freddie Kitchens experiment.
Yeah, if you're looking at sheer talent, he's a top 5 or 6 talent. If you're just looking at talent, but if you look at the situation he's in, it's hard.
Like 4 years ago, he was like the first or second pick. Like before, obviously Michael Thomas broke out too, but like he was up there with Antonio Brown and Julio and Hopkins.
With the shell of Eli Manning throwing him the ball.
Yep.
So let's see what we got. So,
and I know we skipped over him just briefly, and I mentioned like I think Kenny Galladay's really taken he took a little bit of the next step last year. Like I said, he had about almost 70 catches, 1,000 yards, and like 8 touchdowns. I think it's just going to climb, and that's also with Matthew Stafford missing. I think it was like 4 or 5 games in the season. Like I really like Kenny Galladay.
No, I have Galladay very high on my list here. I think he's going to have an amazing season. He's going to be one of the top quarterbacks. But I want to talk about T.Y. Hilton for a little bit and Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, to me, he's done, and I think that's a shame for T.Y. Hilton because I think his season is going to be done because of his quarterback.
Hilton's my best wide receiver on that team, if you ask me.
I was going to tee up. I remember you said it the other day. I'll mention real quick about Hilton. I think T.Y. Hilton's best days are behind them, even though, again, he's not that old. I just think him and Andrew Luck were perfect together, like that style. Hilton, I think, at best, maybe a low-end wide receiver too, maybe a flex. I have him in like my wide receiver flex area. Again, it's another guy that just burned me in the past, like the last 2 years between injuries and production being down. And he's not a huge touchdown guy because he's again a guy like he needs like those 30-yard touchdowns. You get in the red zone, and like I said, I'll let Cam talk about I think one of his breakout guys.
Oh yeah, he's big capital letters here.
Yeah, which you might talk about if you want to talk about now or later with him. But I'm a little like Hilton. Again, it's almost like running backs. You don't necessarily avoid guys because you want to load up on certain running backs and receivers. But there's a lot of people for me ahead of Hilton. And like you said, like you mentioned Deebo Samuel, like if he's healthy, because I know he got hurt and I know he's had surgery. So Deebo, I think, should be back by the regular season, like whatever the regular season looks like here. But I like Deebo more than T.Y., assuming he's healthy.
Do you put Stephon Diggs with Buffalo above Hilton?
I do personally. Like I said, I was talking about how I like Josh Allen taking another step, being like a top 8-9 fantasy quarterback. I think Stephon Diggs is solidly a wide receiver too. He's already proven to be one in Minnesota. And I think Allen's going to sling out. He has one of the strongest arms in the NFL. So they're going to sling it.
I think Stephon Diggs will succeed in spite of Josh Allen.
I think Allen's a better fantasy quarterback than real life quarterback. I'm happy he's not you know what I mean? Sometimes fantasy quarterbacks are better than I think Vic was a better fantasy quarterback than a real life quarterback.
You know Josh Allen's numbers? I know he runs the ball, but can he throw?
They're not that great. It was less than 4,000 yards. But again, because he runs, he had like 400 some yards rushing, and that fantasy wise, that makes a difference, which puts him on the possibility of being a top 10, 12, even higher fantasy quarterback with a little better offense too. Now that they have Stephon Diggs, so that's why I'm a little higher on him. Like I don't like him as a regular non-fantasy quarterback, so I think he makes a lot of mistakes. But fantasy wise, he puts stats up.
Yep, I've got kind of I think this might be a little bit surprising for you guys, though, in my tier 3. And this is just because of sheer volume and nobody else on that team being able to do anything is Terry McLaurin, wide receiver in Washington. as a rookie year, and in his rookie year, he just shredded folks. He busted the top off defenses. He can run every route. Who else are they going to throw the ball to?
I have him high on my list.
I have him about low end wide receiver too. I like him a lot too. It's just, but he's the only guy. So you're right. I like Terry McLaurin. I want shares of McLaurin. If he can be especially my third receiver I draft, I love it. If he's my flex play. Also, shout out to my man Gio Beckham from our team. Or he went to high school with Terry McLaurin, or the same high school as Terry McLaurin. Which is pretty cool. Yeah, I mentioned that the other day. So, which is pretty cool. But I like McLaurin because I'm not a big Haskins believer, but again, they have no one else. First game against my Eagles last year, McLaurin lit him up. You know what I mean?
All the reports are saying that Haskins has taken so many steps forward since his first start. They haven't had a lot of time to practice, but as far as reading the playbook and talking with them and understanding the offense, and I guess kind of what you could say is NFL pop quizzes, I guess you could say, they say he's just crushing right now.
And they do have the Ohio State. They played in college together, so that definitely helps too. You know what I mean? They feel comfortable with. And they have nobody else. And especially one of their other receivers just got hurt, who I don't even remember who it was, but it wasn't someone on the fantasy radar, but it was one of the guys that was supposed to start for him. I'm just blanking. But McLaurin, like I said, for me, I like him as a wide receiver too.
Was it
Harmon? Say it again.
Kelvin Harmon?
Yes, it was Harmon. It was Harmon. Yeah, he went down with a knee. I think he tore his ACL.
That's right. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Oh, there's your question for you. Before we get into that question, another reason that I think that Julio Jones is going to do as well as you guys think is because of this wide receiver, Calvin Ridley. So he's stepping into into the role. He's stepping into being one of the main guys.
I agree with you. I think their offense, almost like Tampa Bay in a way, can support two high end wide receivers. Calvin Ridley still had 10 touchdowns last year, I believe, as a rookie. He didn't have 1,000 yards, but he still gets a lot of the catches. And when they had Sanu there, especially back then when they had Julio and Roddy White with Matt Ryan's early days. I think I think Julio will still easily be a top 5 guy. And I think Calvin Ridley can easily be a top 15 receiver this year, if not even more.
I've always liked Sanu. Always. He's one of those guys that you're like, oh man, I like that guy. He's one of the receivers that I've always kind of liked. Where is he playing this year?
He's with the Patriots. He's with the Patriots still.
Okay.
So we'll see with your boy Cam Newton how he does.
Oh man, that's a disaster. And I read somewhere. Oh, I sent it on our Patreon page. That list where they had the Patriots 4th or 5th. I'm like,
yeah, the
Patriots are going to be trash. I'm saying it now. They're going to be trash, with the coach or without the coach. And then we're going to get to see really what that coach really has when he. You don't think so?
What world do we live in right now where Russell Hance is on this and he's saying that the Bengals are making the playoffs and the Patriots are going to be trash?
I think Joe Burrow's winning MVP too, right?
Yeah. So you think the Patriots are going to have a good team? I
think they'll still compete for a playoff spot. I think Buffalo might have a little edge, but till we see it not happen.
The lazy
their defense is still one of the top defenses in the NFL. I don't think there's going to be any.
Your boy, he's never going to get sacked because he's always going to hit a knee. Let's hit a knee. Don't want to get sacked.
If Cam's healthy, though, I think he still has a little left in the tank. He's not elite anymore, but I don't know.
Nothing in the tank. He is done. It is going to be embarrassing for Cam Newton this year. They're going to take him out.
You're all
who do we have?
Jared Stidham's the other guy.
Jared Stidham's, pick him up.
I think I'm avoiding everyone on New England this year. I'm not that big on even Edelman. I just don't think he'll be as
anybody
productive.
In the chat agree with me. Am I the only one here?
If you want me to take that Eagles question real quick too. Fantasy wise, I'm not really that high on it. Alshon Jeffrey's injured. I don't even know when he'll be back. So he had off-season surgery. I think it's time to move on from Alshon. Deshaun Jackson, again, if you get him as your 4th or 5th, just with the upside, because he played one game last year with Wentz, he had almost 200 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns in the opening game and then got hurt and didn't play the rest of the season. So there's Deshaun upside. Jalen Reagor as a rookie. The Eagles receivers as rookies don't do great. Jeremy Maclin may have had the best rookie season of the Eagles receiver in a while, and it wasn't that great. And that was, again, 10 years ago now.
And they're just wasting away, JJ. Whiteside.
And they feel like they are. I mean, like I said, him and regular. It's a lot. It's a big cluster. So fantasy wise, I'd wait and see approach. If I drafted one guy, it would be Deshaun as like a 4 or 5. All in on Zach Ertz though. Like as a tight, we'll talk tight ends in another video, but he's the guy him and Miles Sanders who we mentioned too. Those are the Eagles' offensive guys you want.
So my second guy on my tier 4, I think he's going to overtake as the number 1 receiver is DK Metcalf. I love DK. You saw him towards the middle to end of last year. He started to really mesh with Russell Wilson. Wilson's another one of those guys. If you're his number 1 guy, he's going to feed you. He did it with Doug Baldwin. He did it with Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett's still good, but I mean, DK Metcalf is big and he's fast.
Okay.
And if Russell Wilson trusts you, he's going to throw it to you, even if you're in coverage. He'll throw it to you, and he'll trust that you go up and get it. And I think DK to me, and this might be a bad comparison, but when I watch him play, he looks like a certain player, a Hall of Fame player, that Terrell Owens. When I watch him play, he looks like Terrell Owens.
He's not near that big, is he?
He's bigger.
He's bigger. But
he's
a freak athlete. I don't know if he's as fast at T.O.'s heyday, but like I think his route running's not as great as T.O. yet. But like I like DK and I like Lockett still, like as both receiver twos. Lockett, it's an amazing stat. I think Tyler Lockett had the most red zone targets in the NFL last year as any receiver, which is an amazing stat.
Because he's so small.
Yeah, and it's amazing that he had that. Like, I mean, but Lockett, like I said, I think you're good with Lockett or Metcalf, like as your like that second receiver range on your team. Again, you don't want both, but as long if you had one of them, and I think Metcalf does have a little more upside just as that younger, and he really came on last year.
I'm still trying to figure out how Tyler Lockett caught that touchdown pass.
Yeah, I know exactly. I had him last year in the corner. It was insane.
Like it's almost like remember Space Jam?
It defied gravity.
I'm just trying to figure out how Odell Beckham caught that touchdown pass. It's these athletes he went backwards, and it was like crazy his body
was great, but I think that Lockett catch is one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. Like, I don't think Russell Wilson even knew that he could make that catch. He was trying to throw it away.
Yes, I think it was a throwaway pass, and all of a sudden he catches. And I was like, "There's no way he was in," and then it's like, "Nope, he was in." That's insane.
Now that team there, that's a different story. They're going to be really strong this year.
That division's tough, though. That's a tough division.
And like I said, I think the Cardinals are going to be better, but it is a tough division. Like I said, they're all really good. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams came in 4th place.
Okay. Have we talked about A.J. Brown yet?
Nope.
No.
What do you guys feel? What do you guys feel about? You don't really.
I'm a little. To me, he's like a wide receiver 3-ish, like flex. Again, I actually think he's going to take a little step back in the offense. So I'm not a Ryan Tannehill believer. I think A.J. Brown has a lot of talent, but he's not like a huge volume guy. I feel like he was a lot of the big, like get 4 catches, but have like a touchdown. And like one of the catches would be like 45-yard receptions. Like he has game-breaking ability. I just don't see. There's a lot of guys ahead of him. Like I said, we still didn't mention. I like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods ahead of him from the Rams.
I love Cooper.
I still like DJ Shark more than AJ Brown this year. Devontae Parker, Adam Thielen. So there's a bunch of guys that we probably are still going to get to that I still like ahead of AJ Brown. Again, if AJ Brown's like my flex receiver, I'm not bad with it. But again, not as a wide receiver too. I'm a little lower on him coming into his second year.
It was this year we had a stream of games where Cooper Kupp just was going crazy.
Mm-hmm. I love Cooper Kupp.
And it's like, is this guy ever going to stop? Do I have to play him? It was almost like a situation like McCaffrey, but not like McCaffrey, but like, okay, this guy's scoring all these points every game. And then that stopped. But that could happen with him. He could have 3 or 4 strings of really high upside, and then the next couple of games have 2 or 3 points. So,
I mean, I think it's good for him and Woods that your boy Brandon Cooks is on the Texans now, so they're not even going to waste targets. They're not going to waste. They're not going to waste targets trying to get Brandon Cooks the ball, which is good. So you can just utilize Woods and Cooper Kupp, who are like both. Like I think Cooper Kupp has upside. Like could be like 12th, 13th ranked receiver.
I forgot we got rid of Hopkins. For Cook and who else?
David Johnson, who's not David Johnson anymore.
David Johnson, that's 70 years old.
I need you to respect my guy. All right, David Johnson.
Yeah.
If we can go back 3 years, then I'd be like, we are kicking it. And then I think we have Cobb too. So congratulations.
You do. That's exciting. The Cowboys are like Cowboys just dumped him and then bring CD Lamb in.
Upgrade.
Yeah, a little, just a tad.
We have all, the oldest team in the league.
I mean, if Will Fuller stayed healthy, I actually think he's really good. Like he's another guy that has random weeks in like if you're playing DraftKings or FanDuel, Will Fuller can throw up like a 35-point game.
Do you draft Fuller?
Not as like he'll go higher than I want to draft in a year long. He's a guy I'd rather play in. In dailies. I avoid him in year longs because he's so unreliable. And then he's again, like I mentioned, someone else. He's such a tease because you play him 2 weeks and he's so good, and then you play him and he hurts his hamstring in the first quarter for a month straight.
Okay,
it happens every year, so it's not like it's a fluke anymore. It literally has happened every year he's been in the league.
Year before last, if you guys can remember, where would you have put AJ Green?
Top 2 years ago, you're saying?
Yeah, who's hurt all last year?
Probably top 10. He's probably top 10 still 2 years ago.
Okay, so how come we're not talking about that right now?
Because your question is if this was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, he's not even my favorite receiver on Cincinnati anymore. So I like Tyler Boyd. I would take Tyler Boyd. I think I think Green's done as being a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Because even 2 years ago, he was starting to take. We
don't know that yet. We don't know.
Even his full season, he was kind of on a downturn comparative. I'm always saying again, comparative to a wide receiver 1, where he was getting 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. Like he's hard to rely. Like again, there could be good value for him like later on, but again, I have him in the wide receiver, like low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 still. But I think Tyler Boyd might be a better option.
Would you really pick Tyler Boyd over AJ Green? If he's up, if both of them were right there,
yes,
you pick him.
But not as my wide receiver 2. It's all depending. Again, like we're talking like year long leagues. I would take Tyler Boyd over AJ Green.
Would you, Cameron?
That's a hard sell on Tyler Boyd over Green, but
to me, it's close. I mean, I'm not saying it's like 100, but they're both in my same area of like where I would draft guys.
If I got news that AJ Green is 100% healthy and he's a go, I'm taking Green. But if they're coming into the camp where they're saying he's got to work through some issues, he's still got some things he's got to take care of health-wise, then I'm taking Boyd. So it really depends on the health of AJ Green. If they give me the green light, I'm in on AJ Green.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple guys we haven't mentioned the 2 that I had really high on wide receiver 2s.
Go ahead.
See if you guys want to. Well, one is with
one of them Edelman.
No, I'm not big on Edelman.
Let me guess. We haven't missed.
There's one guy that's a super. People don't realize how good he is.
Parker.
He's one. Well, he was not.
Juju.
He's one of the guys I think of. That's not how I was saying it.
Juju. Juju. How good he is. So
Juju's one of them, but not the one I was thinking of. The one I'm talking about. And Juju and Parker, the guys are mentioning. DJ Moore. Like when you look, it almost like blows my mind. It's like you forget how good DJ Moore's like a top 10 fantasy receiver last year.
Right.
And I still think with Teddy, I mean, that was with Kyle Allen. You know what I mean? So I think DJ Moore puts up over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, even with Teddy Bridgewater, who's not like the greatest quarterback, but DJ Moore is flirting with wide receiver 1 status.
Yeah, he takes out Kyle Allen. Like I don't think he's now their number 1 receiver, DJ Moore.
Yeah, and like I said, I like him. Again, I think
he plays for Carolina now, though.
Yeah, DJ Moore's still with Carolina. I was saying like when Kyle Allen was his quarterback, but he's not there anymore. They had Bridgewater.
Okay.
I mean, I think if you tell me Roethlisberger's going to say it again. Go ahead, sorry.
That's hard for me putting DJ just because they've got Robbie Anderson now. They've got Curtis Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Ian Thomas, who I like a lot. It's hard for me in season long with so many mouths to feed to invest in DJ Moore. And he could absolutely go out there and crush it. He's a great receiver. I wanted him when Dallas was drafting, but they didn't take him. But there's so many mouths to feed. Like I said, I want with my receivers. We're getting to that spot where we can't really do it anymore, but I want those guys to soap up all the targets. And
one of those guys that would every year is one of those guys you're saying, but I'm a little hesitant, even though I'd still take him as definitely as my second, is Keenan Allen. Because I love Keenan Allen. I just don't know about their quarterback play. You know what I mean? If Keenan Allen's my say I get like Allen Robinson or Mike Evans or Godwin, and then I still get Keenan Allen as my second receiver, then I'm ecstatic. I mean, there's many years before that Keenan Allen was a wide receiver 1, no doubt. But I just don't know with Tyrod or Herbert this year. Just because also his touchdowns haven't been off the chart as well either.
Did we talk about Robert Woods? Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods?
I mentioned both of them kind of briefly. I like both of them as – I mean, I'd be happy getting either of them as my second. Like I said, Cooper Kupp has huge upside. Woods doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, but he gets a lot of volume.
All right. What do you think about their offensive situation over there now?
Good, Cam.
Damn.
Oh, it's about the Rams?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was letting you guys go. I was looking at
I don't want to talk over
Who's
you.
their running back?
their running back. It's got to be Darrell Henderson. But hey, it's Darrell Henderson season, man. That dude's, if they give him the ball, that guy's gonna go nuts. Like, he's gonna go absolutely nuts.
Like, so we'll make that side bet still.
Did they draft? They drafted Cam Akers.
Cam Akers.
Yeah.
But McVay said the other day they're going to play 4 running backs this year.
Oh God.
That's fantasy wise. That's literally the worst thing you could ever hear.
Yeah.
That's what your damn Eagles do to me every year until they got Miles Sanders now.
Yeah, I know, and they'll still be dumb about it and not give Sanders the ball. They'll put Clement back in, and they'll be like, "What the hell are they doing?"
When they drafted Sanders. I was like, "Oh my God, yes, they've got a running back now they could really get behind." Yeah. And then they signed Jordan Howard, and I was like,
"Yeah, I was not." How about watching Jordan Howard play? And I'm like, "No, we're good. Let's get Miles Sanders the ball."
That dude just slows down offenses and takes away production. But anyway, that's a running back. We're not talking about running back.
Yeah. Just one more. I mean, we only mentioned briefly. If you tell me Roethlisberger is going to be healthy, I think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be still a beast. He's very dependent on Roethlisberger. I think he's
also dependent on a number 2. Like, I think he's the best number 2 receiver in the league.
Yes.
Juju.
Yes. I mean, you probably got to hope like Deontay Johnson develops, but I mean, I don't see him as a 1. But I mean, you could see.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, to say like Juju showed with Roethlisberger healthy, but like you said too, whether it was Brown or when they saw Le'Veon Bell, Smith-Schuster, like you said, is really a stud number 2, regular football and fantasy football. It's just you don't know because you can't really trust Big Ben anymore. You don't know if Deontay Johnson's going to take the next step. You know they do like him a lot, so you
can review our quarterback video and you can see that is my guy that's not going to be good this year.
Yeah.
So he already can't play on the road. So that's 8 games he's not going to be good.
So we got. I'm gonna throw 3 quarterbacks in there right here, and you guys tell me who you think. Who you gonna pick first? Marquise Brown, DJ Clark, and Allen Robinson.
Oh, I'm 1,000% Allen Robinson. I actually think Allen Robinson's a top 7 fantasy receiver in the whole. Like I mentioned him a little bit before. Last year he was a top 8 fantasy receiver in the whole league. Like I said, he had over 1,200 yards and about like 8 touchdowns. And
when you guys look at this, when you look at your best receiver, this person's going to do good. In the back of your mind, I thought you froze on me. Yep, there goes Cam.
To me,
in the back of your mind, do you look for the quarterback, like the quarterback that's throwing to them?
Some of them, yeah. Some players, yes. Like Juju Smith-Schuster, yes. Allen Robinson, no, because he's already proven it with Bortles and with Trubisky. The only down years he had was when he tore his leg up, and then he was coming off a bad injury. But last year, if you look at Allen Robinson's volume and his targets, he's literally a top 8 guy. And out of those 3 guys, I'd have DJ Shark second just because he's proven more.
Somebody's buffering really bad.
And Marquise Brown third. Just because Hollywood Brown's not like a big volume guy. Like he may have like 40, 50 catches. So just with the Ravens offense, no receivers are going to have like monster numbers.
Yeah. DJ Shark, I'm not sold on him yet. Just quite yet.
Yeah, and I agree with you that because he really only had last year a little bit. But again, him and Minshew had a good connection. And I mean, I would have, like I said, out of the 3 you mentioned, Robinson no doubt would be my first one of those 3. I'd have Shark second, and I'd have Marquise Brown a distant third out of those 3. Just because Brown, again, this is year long we're talking about. So year long fantasy here. Just because Brown's going to get like maybe 50 catches. Just because it's going to be like deep balls. And he has deep ball ability. Like he's going to have weeks where he'll get you 4 for 110 and a touchdown, but there's going to be other weeks to get you 1 for 10. Whereas Robinson's going to get you 6 to 8 catches every week. Shark's going to get you at least 5 catches every week.
Yeah. All right.
So we haven't really talked about guys that we're going to absolutely fade. I've got 2.
I was a little big on T.Y. Hilton fading. I didn't really mention it, but yeah, I'm trying to fade T.Y. Hilton from what we talked about before. Sorry, go ahead, Cam.
No, but my first one's Julian Edelman. I'm absolutely 100% fading Julian Edelman.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame for Julian Edelman, but I agree with it.
Yeah, it doesn't really need a lot of introduction. I mean, you lose Tom Brady. That's your guy. That's your brother. And it's just they're not going to have the same connection. They could come out and have good production. I can't rely on that, with Cam Newton. So the other one, I have another one that I listed is Jarvis Landry. I like Jarvis. I've always played. I was playing Jarvis back in the day on FanDuel. I say back in the day. It's not that long ago. But when Jarvis was in Miami.
Pre-COVID is a long time ago, so I mean, I know how you feel. I know what it feels like.
Yeah, I played him his rookie year and his second year in Miami a lot on FanDuel, and he did so well for me. He was a PPR machine. He was getting 10 catches, 11 catches. He was getting all the targets. But since he's been in Cleveland, it hadn't been the same. He had a good year last year, but they've got too many weapons around him. They've got Odell on the outside. They've got Kareem Hunt as a pass catcher, sometimes Nick Chubb. They've got 2 tight ends. They've got a freak athlete in David Njoku. Then they went out and signed Austin Hooper. They want to sign Austin Hooper. So who's a possession guy, Austin Hooper. He'll get in the middle. That's kind of where Jarvis likes to work, is in the middle mostly. So I just don't see a lot of opportunity. He'll have his games. He'll definitely have his games, but I don't see a ton of opportunity for him to be a consistent fantasy producer this season.
Well, he's back with his boy. My team's back together. LSU is playing. and he was better in LSU than Odell Beckham. Way better. So it's crazy to see how much. It's crazy when we watch athletes come out of college. Some not so good, some great that doesn't do that well. What was his name? Treadwell. The world happened to that.
Yeah, he was terrible.
It was
Ole Miss for the
so
Minnesota Vikings.
So
huge bust
in college, and then just terrible in the pro. And then you have people that's not as good. People think Odell Beckham was the man in college. He wasn't. It was Jarvis Landry. And just like now, we have Jefferson. I don't want to get into LSU, but you know what I'm saying. So, and then I just don't see it happening. I think that who did you say that not going to do well?
Jarvis.
Yeah, I see him having the same type of year he always has. I mean, he's never really that.
It's nothing like flashy. Like, I mean, obviously most leagues are PPR, so that helps. He gets catches, but he only scores about what did you say, Cam? About 4 or 5 touchdowns a year. And he's not going to get the 100 catches though, like in Miami when he was the only target. When you have such a big offense, Austin Hooper was one of the top 3 fantasy tight ends last year, so he's going to command targets. Njoku's going to get targets, like you said, and obviously they want to get Beckham in. And Stefanski knows what he's doing with the running backs, like Cam was outlining earlier too. So,
but you had the best fade though.
So I think, like I said, mine. We mentioned T.Y. Hilton, he was one of my big fades this year. For one of my other ones, it's not a huge flashy guy, but I'm just kind of mentioned with Keenan Allen, but it would be Mike Williams with San Diego. He already struggled to score touchdowns last year, even though he had almost 1,000 yards receiving. But just with the new quarterbacks, sometimes Mike Williams would be drafted as a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 3. I'm just looking not to get any shares in Mike Williams for the Chargers this year. I'm just waiting to see if you never know, Herbert could explode and it might be wrong, but I'd rather wait and see and not really get any shares of Mike Williams.
Let me see. My fade. I'm going to have to go. I like to go with the big stuff. You know what I mean? Fade the big boys. That's how you win. That's how you become the $1 million maker winner. You fade the big boys. So what I'm telling you is to fade Julio Jones. Fade him. Don't listen to these two. And I can't wait to see.
I hope in my league people fade Julio. I hope they fade him in my league.
No, he's gonna have a season. He's just. I don't think it's gonna be crazy impressive like you guys think.
Well, his down season might be 90, 1,207, which would probably make him a top 5 fantasy receiver, in my opinion. I mean, if you want to go, like I said, one of the bigger guys, I would fade a little bit then.
I'm sorry, guys. There's a funny comment, and I know Russell's probably not gonna like it. It says, Russell, what do you know about winning $1 million?
I know a lot. I know how to get there to have the check, to have them have their pin on the check like that, almost writing the name.
That was a good one. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I saw that and I laughed. Sorry.
I'll say one of the higher guys I'll fade, and we only touched on him a little bit, and he helped me win leagues last year. I'm not on high as Devontae Parker this year as what he produced last year, so I might fade him as like a high-end wide receiver too. Again, he had a big breakout year finally. Like he's a guy that people were waiting on 3-4 years for it to happen, and it did with Fitzpatrick. But who knows what the transition with Fitzpatrick and Tua. And again, this is fantasy-wise. I don't see him putting up the monster numbers. And it's also betting on his health, and he's never been healthy besides last year. So I might fade them as like a top 15 receiver. Like you're saying, like I might fade Devontae Park out of that group. And
let's pick a receiver that's just not in the picture, that we haven't even talked about, that you think is going to someone like that. Now, I'm still not this guy could have an amazing season, but I'm still not really sold on him, and that's D.D. Westbrook. I'm not sold quite yet on him, but I can see him breaking out. I wouldn't be surprised if he would break out and have a great season.
He's got to get through DJ Chark. DJ Chark's a monster.
I like Shark a lot too. I mean, Westbrook's a guy I feel like I always take too, and I'm waiting for that breakout because it's there. I feel like it's there. It's just waiting for it.
Yeah, that's how I feel like. It's like, man, this guy.
But maybe now with like Minshew just being the guy, that will help because the Jaguars literally go through Bortles and Foles and Chad Henne. It feels like, what I mean, just random guys are just getting thrown in Jacksonville. My guy, and this will go along with Russell. Remember my great talk of Daniel Jones and the quarterback one. Right. I actually like Darius Slayton a lot, and I hate talking about all these damn NFC East teams that aren't the Eagles. But when it comes to fantasy, there's a lot of Darius Slayton had a lot of moments last year as a fifth or sixth round rookie draft pick, and he became Daniel Jones' favorite receiver. And they still have Shepard and Golden Tate, but I think Slayton could be a wide receiver too, definitely like a flex option this year with a full year of Daniel Jones as well.
Love him, love him.
He's a Bengal, so he's gonna win. He's a Bengal. Which, by the way, I saw the odds. I saw the odds on the Bengals winning the Super Bowl when I was in Tunica, and I took a picture and I forgot to send it to you. You should remember that bet.
I Venmo you the money. Bet that for me.
It's plus 10,000. So
throw a dollar on it.
I'll put $100 on that.
Yeah. But like I said, my receiver, my off the radar guy we haven't talked about would be Darius Slayton. I think if you draft him as your fourth receiver, he could easily turn in much higher than that and be a 2 or 3 for you.
Well, we haven't talked much about we ain't talked about him at all, and that's Sanders. New Orleans has him. I mean, you don't got to throw down the field to him. He can run routes. He's a solid wide receiver. On that list that I sent you, they had New Orleans was in the top 5. If that was true to be the case, then why wouldn't we say that someone like Sanders, they're going to be Double and Thomas? Why wouldn't Sanders get a lot of points?
I mean, I think it'd be a flex option, and the problem is, even if you double Thomas, he still gets open. I watched it happen when they tried to cover him. But I mean, I think Sanders would be definitely a flex option, like in certain weeks higher than that. I just think in the history of the Saints offense, they usually it's always a running back out of the backfield and a stud number 1. And when it comes to fantasy perspective, like they're kind of like Cameron was mentioning earlier, you don't remember I'll answer that question too. But like I said, with the Saints, there's no like 2. Sometimes it's Devery Henderson, Ted Ginn, Robert Meacham for a year. And they're not necessarily fantasy studs. They're like flex options. And it's kind of been the same offense for 14 years now. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't hate Manny Sanders, but I don't see him as like a wide receiver too. And to the question that put up there, I think you're good either way, but I would take Cooper Kupp. I'd lean Kupp over Woods.
That's a really tough one.
I think Kupp could flirt with 100 catches this year with no Brandon Cooks targets and no Todd Gurley out of the backfield.
It's like Woods can get the longer play.
Yeah.
But Kupp gets 12 receptions a game. So it's like, all of a sudden, Woods catches a touchdown.
I said, and then I like both of them, but if I had to pick one, like I said, I would lean Cooper Kupp has higher fantasy potential, but I think they're both easily top 20 guys, no doubt.
That's because I'm the boss. That's why. I'm the boss.
I wasn't going to say anything about it. I was just going to let it go.
Yeah. Because I'm in Texas, and I went to LSU.
And you control everything going on. So that's good enough.
Louisiana.
So
one of the greatest games to ever be played was right here. I'd admit it. USC in Texas. Still don't see a game better than that. That was just insane.
So good.
yeah, the Rose Bowl, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Insane.
There's a couple guys that we hadn't really talked about as far as receiver that I'm not going out of my way to get, but if they're there, I'm taking them.
And it's like you said, sorry, just chiming in real quick, because it's like we said with running backs, you want to just take a ton of people. Like you want to get a ton of running backs, you want to get a ton of receivers. And it's good to just have guys, because if they go off, you have them.
Michael Gallup.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this might be like a homer pick, but Michael Gallup, he does not get enough respect, I don't think, in the fantasy circles of people who just are casually play. If you are a fantasy player and you play daily sports and a bunch of season longs, you know about Michael Gallup. You know he's a beast. You know he can absolutely tear you up on the outside. He had an injury last year. He was on pace for having a great year. He got hurt, never really recovered 100% from it, I don't think. But he's a guy that one-on-one, and then you've got CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. Again, it's one of those situations where who are you going to double? Who are you going to leave one-on-one? It's going to be hard to decide that depending on what your defense is. You leave Cooper one-on-one, you double and Gallup. You CeeDee Lamb, you double Cooper, CeeDee Lamb's open. But I think Gallup is the best overall NFL number one receiver. He's not the best route runner. He's not the fastest, but you put him out there on the outside, he can get the job done. And I like Gallup. And he's good in that spot. He's good.
Your boy Prescott went to my hometown, Vinton, Louisiana. His family grew up there. His grandmother, her name is Precious. This is crazy, but her name was Precious. Amazing family. She was one of the first black females integrated into Vinton, Louisiana, Vinton High School. And my mom and dad was going to school there when it happened. So it's like crazy stuff, but he's great family.
Dak is a good dude, man. Amazing. Like I said, I hate the Cowboys, but he is a good dude.
He's a really good dude. You might think, oh, you just see this on TV and stuff. The guy's a good guy. His family's real good people, and he deserves the money that he's going to get paid.
He's going to get paid one way or another from someone. So,
yeah. Oh yeah. He's making 32 million.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad for the franchise tag. Kirk Cousins did the franchise tag for 2 years, got 30 million, and then got 80 million guaranteed. So
yeah,
I mean it's no Mahomes. It's no Mahomes, but I mean still quarterbacks. Be a quarterback, you're gonna make money.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. We're gonna go ahead and cut it off here. We're gonna have this bit. We've been here an hour, and we're gonna have the tight ends and defense all on Port 4. Once we finish Port 4, if you haven't subscribed to TRHS Sports, a new YouTube channel we have, then you won't see us again. I'm not coming on this channel any longer to do this type of stuff. Yes, I'll advertise and stuff like that on this channel. We did the top 100. You've seen the little commercial for TRHS Sports. So we're getting deep into that. I did a lineup yesterday, but the lineup didn't feel, so it knocked out my $100 bet. FanDuel, I ain't gonna say too much because they might be sponsoring us one day. So I'm just saying.
I'm looking at our baseball lineups right now that I set up. I put in 120.
Did you take Will Smith out?
I did. Yeah. I was stressing up until 3 minutes before lock. I was trying to get all my lineups fixed on my Excel sheet and everything.
Smith and Gomes both sad, and I was like, "Geez."
So we're going to be talking a lot of basketball. Every once in a while, we may come on and talk some baseball, but probably not. Once football season starts and basketball season starts, there's going to be so much going on that we're going to be talking about all that. We also have probably, I have to talk to him still, but he wants to feel from the specialist, the survivor specialist. He writes articles for magazines for sports betting. So he's going to come on and do some live sports betting stuff to help you guys win more money. That's what we're here for. So again, guys, we appreciate you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Don't forget to go to TRHS because that's where we'll be after this is all over, after we do this 4-part series. And that's all I got for you. That's it. Put your money on the Bengals.